Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Seaweed Brain, a Percy Jackson podcast live from the Duat. We are still talking about the Red Pyramid today, but we are about to approach the pyramidium, would you say? A new word that we learned today, rereading these sections. The zenith, if you will. Set is about to be revealed. We're about to start this final battle. Stick around.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
This episode is brought to you by Walmart. New beauty is in bloom at Walmart, and it's all about springtime radiance. From Drybar, Tula Skincare, and hundreds more available online, Walmart has the premium brands you want and this season's on-trend products for flawless, glossy hair and hydrated skin. Big name beauty brands? Check. The things you love? Check. Find trending spring beauty and all you need to look and feel gorgeous at Walmart, on app and online.
The what, you said? The pyramidium?
Pyramidion. P-Y-R...
Pyramidion.
P-Y-R-A-M-I-D-I-O-N. Pyramidion. Which apparently is the gold, smaller pyramid that you put at the top of a big pyramid to complete it.
Aww. That's so cute.
I suppose it is. It's just us today.
It's just us. Also, fun fact, this is our 201st episode. If I've been counting correctly the entire time for nearly 5 years that I've been uploading.
We passed the 200 one. That was last time. And we didn't talk about it, although we did text about it beforehand and didn't end up doing anything.
Yes. Happy 201st episode. We have raised a nearly 5-year-old child.
Yes. That's the thing. I think that's what would have made it awkward, is I feel like you can't do a thing for the 200th episode and then also do a thing 2 months later for the 5-year anniversary. But I feel like five years feels like more of a thing than 200 episodes, but maybe it's wrong.
Especially because throughout the course of our history as a podcast, I've deleted some episodes. And who knows where we really are as far as number-wise for the entire catalog. But yeah, we're almost at 5 years. And we've been trying to do a book giveaway for 2 years, so maybe we'll finally do it this time.
5 years. That's a good target.
You still have the hardcover.
I do still have it. And there's some annotations in it. So
we wanted to pass back and forth a hardcover copy of The Titan's Curse and annotate it and then do a giveaway of it. I think we should do it for real.
Yeah, we definitely can. We've had several opportunities since this idea has been conceived to organically pass the book between the two of us.
Yeah. We really have.
Yeah. We've had many such opportunities and we have not used them. And so instead, I guess we'll just be using, what is it called? No, there's a name for it. The mail where you send books. Media mail.
Media mail.
Shout out to the USPS. Maybe there's an implicit deadline because who knows how much longer that's, if they're looking for cuts.
As structures crumble around us. No, for real. While you have the opportunity, media mail is incredible. It's a basically dirt cheap way to mail books, CDs, any kind of physical media. I used it a lot when I was traveling around between college and home and everything, so I could always keep my books with me because that is one of the ways in which I'm a hoarder.
There are some constraints on it, but they're pretty lax about them. You can't use media mail for whatever your notes from classes or something, but you can use it for, say, a packet prepared by your class full of notes that say the teacher published or something.
This episode is brought to you by Media Mail. Who knows how much longer it'll be accessible? Media Mail.
It is not brought to you by Media Mail. They did not pay us. Nor would we take their money. We'll just use the service and tell people about it. But anyway.
We'll workshop it. Stay tuned. Stick around. Very exciting things. But yeah, happy 201st episode, Carter, and happy nearly 5 years. It is just the two of us today. Last time we saw you, Carter, you had a migraine. Are you better now? Brief check-in.
I am mostly better. I did prepare myself some coffee, and I'm a little bit in the danger zone of ooh, I caffeinated, but not enough. So I'll probably be sipping that as we go through this and not having a migraine.
Yay, sip.
Yay.
Me too. I got an extra large matcha. Let's do this.
Yay.
Where did we last leave off. In chapter 35, Amos was giving us a spooky grin, and he said something like, "We're here, muahahaha." The muahahaha was implied. Subtextual
Heavily.
muahahaha.
It was strongly implied. There were several other things that happened in the past chapters. The most relevant thing that we've been tracking is Zia's personal journey, or maybe non-personal journey, in the sense that she might not be a person, or her relationship to personhood might be slightly different from the rest of ours. We'll be picking up on that as well. I think that just about catches us up.
And it's Sadie's perspective?
Yes, we're in Sadie's POV. It is chapter 36. Our family is vaporized. Gasp, how dramatic. It's actually not a super dramatic vaporization, except that it is. It's a low consequence one, but it is, I think, very dramatic.
Is this a reference to "I accidentally vaporized my algebra teacher"? Or is it just a word that the Riordanverse loves?
Death of the author. How fun that we can analogize between these chapter titles. Anyway, the vaporization in question happens very quickly early in the chapter. We are in the eye of this humongous storm brewing around the pyramid that we have to approach for the final confrontation. Wide open, exposed, it's difficult. So Amos's suggestion for how we do this approach is by turning everyone into clouds. And when I say suggested approach, I don't actually mean it, because he immediately starts vaporizing people as they're arguing with him without their consent. This to me was the most shocking part of these chapters. I was kind of horrified and affronted by the way in which he did this.
Really? The audiobook didn't take this very seriously in that sense, I would say. I didn't feel the terror because Sadie was kind of like, I don't know. I think that the narration from the Sadie narrator for this wasn't giving high stakes terror. I may have felt differently about it if I had read it myself.
I think the text is meant to be ambiguous, and it could be easy to file this away into a classic Riordanverse misdirect joke. However, specifically what he does is Zia is in the process of explaining why turning into a storm cloud is specifically evil, wrong, bad in the context of Egyptian magic. And he interrupts her. He doesn't wait. As she's trying to say that this is a bad idea, he turns her into a cloud. And I found that to be a tremendous violation. And frankly, a body horror incident. Carter then chimes in and he's about to say the same thing. He's like, wait, hold up. I'm not comfortable with this. Vaporized. Mid-sentence. No consent, no even implicit agreement with what we're doing. He's literally in the process of saying that we shouldn't do this, and then it happens to him.
Storm magic. Scary.
Yeah. This is probably the most egregious example also of, like, at this point, can we even call it a reveal, a surprise? Like, it is so... How could he not be set? How else could you possibly explain him turning people into storm clouds at will, with ease, and without consulting with anybody?
Once again, I would have to say that the only thing that makes me think it's not set is that it's too obvious. That usually within the Riordanverse, things would not be this obvious at this point in the book. It's like a 1-2 switcheroo.
Yeah. But
this isn't Percy Jackson. This is the
It's
Gang
not Percy
Chronicles.
Jackson, and at this point, it like crosses, I think, back the line where it's so much that if it were anyone else, it wouldn't be like a good twist. It would be, I think, completely disingenuous. You would feel like the book exists on a lie. There's no satisfaction to be had in the arc of the plot.
Yeah, because like, what's the only other option? Zia is set at this point.
Yeah, there's really like no compelling evidence, I think, for any counter theories other than one time somebody used French, and also the French wizard is classist and rude and insecure, which is not actually evidence of anything.
But then they go from storm clouds back into people.
Yes, it does end up working out for everyone. It is a kind of a low consequence thing. There is a fun description from Sadie's POV about what it's like to be a cloud and how difficult it is. It's a really base element of speculative fiction to just be like, okay, I'm going to imagine myself as a thing that I could never be, and just marinate in that for a little bit. And we did. And we're at the mountain now. We discover basically that the pyramid is almost done. As we were discussing a bit in the intro, all that is left is the pyramidion, this gold cap miniature pyramid that we're going to place on top. They're in the process of, with great fanfare and hullabaloo, transferring that up to complete it, celebrate, etc. And so immediately the gang has to invade, put a stop to this, fight some monsters. And that's mostly what we have going on this chapter is some monster fighting, trying to knock away this pyramidion so that we can't complete the pyramid. It's a pretty regulation fight scene. Amos does sort of leave himself behind to try to take care of a bunch of the remaining warriors. And it is one of the, like, we've had a lot of these situations in this book where somebody is leaving themselves behind to take care of it, and it really looks like they're maybe done for, and they very rarely are.
Yeah, they just kind of we kind of like leave them, move along, and then by the time they appear, it's like everything is fine, and we don't really pick back up on that thread.
Yeah, this situation, I think there's an obvious reasoning that is offered as to what's going on here, so I guess it's fine. It's not exactly a Deus Ex Machina, but it is, I think, approaching that idea of there are moments when we kind of need to break power scaling physics ideas, and so we're just going to do it off screen and not worry about it.
Deus Ex Machina?
Ooh, that's the thing. Is of course there is a very easy, very reasonable, totally in-world justification that we are all completely aligned with for what happens here, which is that he's set and this isn't a problem for him. But it is a technique that we rely upon again, where these monsters are in large numbers, we're escaping them, somebody gets left behind to deal with it. We're sailing off in another flying boat that Amos enchants for us. We enter the pyramid. Oh, we do meet Face of Horror for the first time in real life. That was kind of a gag. That's kind of a reveal, a celebrity cameo, maybe.
Celebrity cameo.
He doesn't really do anything. It's not particularly an impactful scene, but we do see him in real life.
He's the henchman of the year.
Yes, he's like the only named one. I don't know. Let's not disparage the other hench people who, don't have these advantages. But we leave all that behind. We flying boat our way over to the actual pyramid. Actually, we don't flying boat our way. Amos is still in the flying boat, and we have to turn back into birds again. This is maybe extreme body horror number 2.
Oh,
except also it's both. I think it's both. It's like extreme terror and also a beautiful bow that we're putting on this earlier experience, where Sadie is the one who actually suggests that we have to turn into birds, and she is able to do it without there being a big hitch. Although there's some fruit bat related magic that does a little bit re-traumatize her, because you may remember that she may or may not have eaten a fruit bat without active, willful thought about it, like reflexively eating a fruit bat when she was a bird the last time. And also, of course, spent a really long time being unable to turn back into a human.
There are a few metaphors I enjoy more in like a YA story than a girl who is pubertizing, experiencing some kind of massive body change, and having to accept and deal with that. So obviously Turning Red comes to mind, the film.
Famously.
Yeah. Sadie having an arc of growth throughout this book with each different time she has to turn into a bird. That's on being a young girl.
Yeah.
That's on periods. That's on menstruation. Period.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Coming to terms with your body changing.
And it is easier for her this time. It mostly goes off without a hitch. And we are in the pyramid.
There is a delightful battle cry coming from Amos. Sadie says, "There's too many," I argued. "Amos, they'll kill you." "Don't worry about me," he said grimly. "Seal the entrance behind you." He pushed me over to the side, giving me no choice but to turn into a kite. Carter in falcon form was already spiraling towards the entrance, and I could hear Zia's vulture flapping its great wings behind us. I heard Amos yell, "For Brooklyn!" It was an odd battle cry. I glanced back, and the boat burst into flames.
Is it an odd battle cry?
No, I think it's sickening, but we don't really know whether this is Amos saying this at this point, or if this is set, like trying to make Amos look embarrassing. I don't know. I think that there are layers.
Set made him say "for Brooklyn."
Yeah, because it's embarrassing, maybe. Or maybe this is a thing that they say at the Brooklyn house,
Why would it be embarrassing? I don't think, like, Amos is not he's not Hannah Horvath. Like, he's from Brooklyn. It's okay for him to be proud of being from Brooklyn. It's a real place.
I was thinking of it within the paradigm of Newsies the musical, like, Brooklyn's here. Do you not think Set knows about Newsies the musical?
So in your head, Set is like, Amos, I'm going to humiliate you by making you
do a battle
Newsies
cry reference.
That is almost a reference to the Disney stage musical and also a one-time movie musical, Newsies.
If I thought it, I think
people
Set
as
could think it.
Jeremy Jordan and
Kara Lindsay.
Yeah.
It also just made me think about how we don't have enough battle cries. We don't have enough quotable battle cries in this fandom. For peanut butter, I think is the best one. There's Greek's let's fight stuff, and that's just not, it's just too wordy, you know? And I'm really looking forward to having more of like a quotable phrase.
Sure, yeah. But that's the thing, I don't think we could pull off saying for Brooklyn.
No, most certainly not.
Nor would we necessarily
Also, like,
aspire to.
Is Amos from Brooklyn, or does he just live in Brooklyn?
I mean, I don't know. The house, isn't the house an established thing? Like,
that's true. It's probably been there for a while.
He built the house. I think it's like a multi-generational. Like, I was kind of implicitly, I guess, assuming that he and Julius grew up at the Brooklyn house, but I guess we have really no basis for that, and they've never, I believe, canonically confirmed that at any point.
Anyway, I thought it was cute.
Yeah. Anyway, with that, we are in the pyramid. We're making our way through. It's kind of not dramatic at this point. We're walking through in silence on our own. There's no battles.
Carter's all pissed off.
This, I think was interesting, but also it is difficult to, so like Carter is upset because the walls have decorations that are not typical of an Egyptian pyramid. And Zia's explanation is basically that what Carter is thinking about is the pyramids that survive as artifacts, which are all specifically royal burial grounds, and that what Carter is thinking about are just general Egyptian tomb markings, and that it doesn't make sense for this to have those markings because it is not a tomb for Set. It is meant to be a hall of power, a way to concentrate, godliness. It is like a ramp to the heavens. The geometry has inherent magical properties. I do not know if it is true that there are any pyramids that have different types of inscriptions on the inside, but everything Zia is saying, I think makes sense, and is maybe, this is perhaps a reach, pushing us into this idea of like the delta between archaeology as historically practiced by outsiders and like lived experience, current existence of cultural traditions, things that might exist outside of the realm of what can be verifiable through surviving evidence. I think it is a reach, but also I'm choosing to roll with it, that Zia is right, and that we're being led to think about a fascinating, juxtaposition between two ideas about what it means to engage with the past.
Mm-hmm. And from there we get what I think sets us up gorgeously for the next chapter, which is my favorite chapter in this book. The transition from Amos into Set after we see the father's coffin. I'm going to read just this one paragraph. The worst part was the throne itself. It was a horrid, misshapen thing, like a red stalagmite that had grown haphazardly from centuries of dripping sediment, and it had formed itself around a gold coffin, Dad's coffin, which was buried in the throne's base with just enough of it sticking out to form a kind of footrest. How do we get him out? I said, my voice trembling. Next to me, Carter caught his breath. Amos? I followed his gaze up to the glowing red vent in the middle of the ceiling. A pair of legs dangled from the opening. Then Amos dropped down, opening his cloak like a parachute so that he floated to the floor. His clothes were still smoking, his hair dusted with ash. He pointed his staff towards the ceiling and spoke a command. The shaft he'd come through rumbled, spilling dust and rubble, and the light was abruptly cut off. Amos dusted his clothes off and smiled at us. That should hold them for a while. How did you do that? I asked. He gestured for us to join him in the room. That is sickening. Oh my God. Terrifying. The legs dangling through the little shaft and then the cloak expanding as he slowly lowers himself down to the ground. We do not in the Riordanverse have enough flying, We do not get enough flying. That might be a very typical Superman type image to think about that cloak like fluttering out as he slowly lowers to the ground, but we never see that in the Riordanverse, and that shook me to my core. I was like, he's like a scary evil vampire in this moment with the cloak expanding. I almost pictured it like a bat.
Not enough people have a taste for drama. Not enough people would know when to operate a wind machine to increase their presence.
Yes, this is his no good deed moment.
Amos knows what's up. He understands the value of a good vent, of creating a silhouette through the use of
lighting.
lighting, air. We know that Amos is a fashion girl, and this is what he always intended.
Amos knows how to dress. Do you think Amos always knew how to dress, or was that Set doing all of that? Do you think Set is the fabulous one?
No.
Do you think Set chose Amos because he was fabulous?
Does Set know how to queen out? I think that's something that we don't actually learn about him.
100% knows how to queen out. That drama queen? Are you kidding me?
I guess in like a drama sense, but like Set is never being. Nothing about Set's description I think necessarily leads us one way or the other. This is kind of skipping ahead. When Set separates out into the real version of himself and he like physically leaves Amos's body there, it's not particularly giving fashion. He's not in gorgeous garments after that. I think it is just Amos, but it's also going to be impossible for us to tell because all of our interaction with Amos would have been after he had been possessed. To the extent that we might encounter him in future books, it would be post this experience with Set. So I guess there's no way to really know. Except for the outfit that he was wearing when he showed up to the British Museum, I think was also fab. And that's all him. I think it's just him. I think he is just somebody who knows his proportions, knows his silhouette. Have you been seeing people talk about Marvel Rivals?
No.
At all? Wow.
What are you talking about?
I don't know anything about it, really. But it is, I think, mostly a mobile game. Maybe it's a computer game. I don't know the exact platform. But it is the accessible fighting game of the moment, like Street Fighter, I think, roughly, but Marvel characters. And there are some good capes in that. They believe in doing the thing like cape is always out, fully billowed, extended with like a little ripple moving through it so that you know that there's like physics and motion happening.
Cool.
That's what I'm thinking about. I think we're in an era again of people understanding that a cape and a cloak costumes. And a they're not just supposed to lie there. They are supposed to have a movement, a shape that's extended.
Oomph.
Yeah.
Oomph. Final answer, Amos is fabulous. Questionable whether or not Set is also fabulous. But we could ask him because he's here.
He's here.
We could ask him because now he's here. Should we read the reveal? I just feel like it's so good.
I think we should.
Okay. He gestured for us to join him in the room. Carter jumped the trench without hesitation. I didn't like it, but I wasn't going to let him go without me, so I hopped the trench too. Immediately, I felt queasier than before, as if the room were tilting, throwing my senses off balance. Zia came over last, eyeing Amos carefully. You should not be alive, she said. Amos chuckled. Oh, I've heard that before. Now let's get to business. Yes, I stared at the throne. How do we get the coffin out? Cut it? Carter drew his sword, but Amos held up his hand. No, children, that's not the business I mean. I've made sure no one will interrupt us. Now it's time we talked. A cold tingle started up my spine. Talked? Suddenly, Amos fell to his knees and began to convulse. I ran towards him, but he looked up at me, his face racked with pain. His eyes were molten red. Run, he groaned. He collapsed, and red steam issued from his body. We have to go, Zia grabbed my arm. Now. But I watched, frozen in horror, as the steam rose from Amos's unconscious form and drifted towards the throne, slowly taking up the shape of a seated man, a red warrior in fiery armor, with an iron staff in his hand and the head of a canine monster. Oh dear, Set laughed. I suppose Zia gets to say, I told you so. We'll be right back.
That's your money saying it's time for a McDonald's run. Because with new McValue at McDonald's, you get more than you expect. Like buy a 6-piece McNuggets and add a McChicken for just $1. Your money says let's go. Get more than you expect with new McValue. Prices and participation may vary. Valid for item of equal or lesser value.
Springfest deals are still in full swing at Lowe's. Right now, get 5 bags of Stay Green Premium Color 2 cubic foot mulch for only $10. And get up to 40% off select major appliances. Plus, save up to $300 when you buy 2 or more select GE kitchen appliances of $396 or more. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 4/16, excludes Alaska and Hawaii. Selection varies by location while supplies last. See Lowe's.com for more details and qualifying items.
Okay, we're back. Carter's POV, chapter 37. This is my favorite chapter in this book. It is full of humor and horrible realizations. And I'm going to just start us off the bat by saying Zia's entire moment here in this chapter, I couldn't think, as I was rereading, couldn't think of what it reminded me of. And then I landed on Spy Kids 3. Demetra, the girl in Spy Kids 3. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do.
Okay, the cool purple girl who I always also envisioned as what Talia Thalia looked like to me was always this. I'm always thinking about this girl when she takes off her helmet and she goes, intuition. The purple girl with the like slayful side part in Spy Kids 3. At the end of that movie, you might recall, like, she's been helping us and she's been like a friend to us. And then we find out that she is like a computer program used to mislead us inside of the video game that we've been playing. She's not a real person. Her consciousness is confused as well. And it's like this moment of unraveling. And I was really proud of myself when I finally grasped onto that straw that I was like, what does this remind me so much of?
That is a reference I have, but one that I totally, none of those details were stuck with me until you said it.
You're not thinking about Spy Kids 3 enough on a day-to-day basis.
Clearly not. But that, yeah, I mean, obviously that's basically what's going on here. Should we, okay, wait, I do have to ask you a question about the audiobook. You were saying that Set was giving fashion. Can you give us a little sample of like what the audiobook Set is giving? Yes. And we can see if we're triangulating the same idea.
Yeah, kind of like Set spread his hands, trying to look modest. Well, you know, it wasn't a full possession. Gods can exist in many places at once, Carter. That's kind of
giving like Jeremy Irons, like it's like Scar type of voice acting.
Bit, almost Scar, but more irony and less like sultry, if that makes sense.
Okay.
The exact one that stands out in my mind is towards the end. I did listen to this like 3 times, so this reading really stuck out in my mind. Ah, Nephthys, at the beginning of time you were my treacherous sister. In another incarnation, in another age, you were my treacherous wife. Now I think you'll make a nice appetizer. True, you're the weakest of us all, but you're still one of the 5, and there is power in collecting the complete set. He paused, then grinned. The complete set! Ha ha! That's funny! Now let's consume your energy and entomb your soul, shall we?
I see. It is a little, fun marriage between a stiffness and a fabulousness.
Scar in the sense of it's a cat playing with its food, but not Scar because he has all the power in the world.
Yeah. Okay. What else is there to say about it? I don't think we need to read the full description. You get the idea. He has this dual mode where, as we've heard described before, sometimes he has like a human head, which has sandy hair. And other times he has the animal head of the Set monster. They also, I think, interestingly describe him as having a handsome but harsh face with intelligent eyes that sparkled with humor. I think we've gotten several different characterizations of Set throughout the book, which makes sense because they've all been secondhand characterizations. This has been different deities telling us, oh, also you think that he's chaotic, but also he is playful or whatever, like versions of that. And now that we're actually seeing him, the way that he's choosing to partially reconcile these things, but also partially give us like what Carter would read into this person at this moment is interesting.
Mm-hmm. Well, this chapter is mostly just Set having a little bit of a dialogue, explaining everything.
Explaining his evil plan.
Possession. Yeah, explaining his evil plan, doing his evil monologue. It's all very entertaining. You're a beast, Sadie shouted. Set gasped in mock surprise. Really? Me? Then he roared with laughter as Sadie tried to drag Amos out of her. It's just all so it's so intensely campy and delightful.
Yes.
And terrifying.
He's queening out.
I almost unfortunately have to root for Set after this because he's just so well characterized and hilarious. Like, yes, your evil plan worked out so well. And you were also so obvious about it, and you let Amos be so obvious about it with the storm magic, and they still walked right into your trap.
I think that is the most fun part, is this description about the interplay between Set and Amos, where, Amos has been trying to give clues, he's been trying to fight back, and Set basically, he says some version of like, I could have overpowered him at any moment, but wasn't this more fun? Wasn't this like a better use of my time and energy to let him do all these things and for none of it to have mattered? That's delightful.
It's fun and humorous getting to listen to the evil plan be revealed, but then it's also terrifying and sad and scary that Zia has no idea what's going on. And Set is convinced that Zia is hosting Nephthys, and Carter is convinced that she is definitely not, because he's going through all of the reasoning in his head. Like, I would have been able to tell, the House of Life would have been able to tell that her magic was weird.
And mind you, we just went through this reasoning together in chapter 34, right? Where we're in the back of the truck.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So like, this is all fresh at the top of our minds. We know that he's right. That like, even if she is on some level the host of Nephthys, something is going to go wrong. It's not just going to like line up easy according to plan. And it doesn't. Should we? Okay, I was wondering about this. When they go through all this logic, some of it is stuff that depends on contextual knowledge. Like the idea that Desjardins would immediately have sniffed her out if she were just straightforwardly hosting Nephthys, that's maybe something that Set wouldn't know. But some of the other stuff, like this idea that we would all be able to feel that she was a godling if she were just straightforwardly, like if her relationship to Nephthys were the same as, say, Sadie's relationship to Isis and Carter's relationship to Horus, we would immediately know it. Why isn't that ringing an alarm bell for Set? Do we have an answer for this? This is something that was kind of bothering me this whole
time.
I
feel like he's just not paying attention.
Okay.
And then as soon as he does pay attention, he's like, what the hell? Where is she?
Yeah, it's not like he's really tricked. I guess that's consistent with our characterization of Set. Like a person who's really chaotic is maybe necessarily somebody who isn't detail-oriented.
Yeah, he's not checking all the boxes. He's not detail-oriented. He's a little all over the place, my guy. He's too focused on his monologue.
Yeah, but he also seems really, really sure, which is also something that's interesting. I guess like maybe he just knows who all was in the room and he's like, okay, I know that she's not going to be hosted. Like Nephthys is not going to be hosted by Desjardins or like random museum curator number 5.
Right.
Or something.
Yeah. And he already knew it was her. He already knows that she's hosting. So he doesn't doubt it until he goes to take the power and he can't get it.
Yeah. Yeah. This, I feel like, I mean, we've had many reveals that are all sort of like along the same line of like, okay, she's not a real girl in some sort of capacity. And this is, I guess, the kind of cornerstone of that it's not just that she's not, but also that it's causing these problems for everybody here. Like Set is upset because he can't straightforwardly harvest her energy. Did we mention this? That like, I don't know if we knew all of what his plan was. We knew it was build this pyramid, destroy North America, create a huge storm. But part of it, he's told us now specifically, is that he wants to destroy all of his siblings to do so. Like we've conveniently gathered Osiris, Isis, Horus, Nephthys in this room, except that he can't really do what he wants with Nephthys at this point because Z is not a real girl. And something went awry and the preparation worked, even though we don't know all the details of that. So like, that's why Set is upset about it. But also I feel, am I reading too much into this? I feel like Carter's internal monologue as this is happening is really complicated in that he is both doing like, I'm worried for you, but also like a little bit stepping a few steps forward in that and being like, wait, I feel like there's that level of like something else is going on. Is she okay? Like, what is going on with her? How can we protect her? And like, what is it?
Yes.
Yeah. Like, but it's not just straightforwardly protective. It's like protective, but also like, I understand this is helping me click into place what exactly is off about the situation.
Exactly. I don't know, because I haven't read ahead. I don't know if this is the chapter in which he realizes and he connects the dots between what is actually going on with Zia. But the fact that everything clicks in for him to go like full Super Saiyan balance power mode, I think like it would make sense if everything is clicking all at once. You know, like even if he doesn't like logically come to that conclusion, it's kind of like he kind of knows in his soul and intuition what's happening, because we have that section where he talks about everything clicking properly, and it happens when he sees Sadie trying to protect. Wow, nothing like watching your little shitty sister try to protect your not quite girlfriend to really put things into perspective. But he says, seeing her alone protecting Zia from the wrath of the gods, something inside me clicked like an engine shifting into higher gear. My thinking suddenly became faster and clearer. The anger and fear didn't go away, but I realized they weren't important. They weren't going to help me save my sister. Don't resist, Zia had told me. And then he goes into his epic power up. So I do think that there is something clicking personally. That may not be Death of the Author. That may not be what was intended, but I do agree. It feels like he is seeing everything clearly in this moment.
Yeah. Do you? Okay. I was also trying to think through. It seems like he, like when he's seeing everything, what he's seeing is not necessarily Shabti though. Like he
No.
I was very, I don't know. The like dedication to protecting her body once we've realized that something off is something where like I was a little bit like, I guess it's just a theory at this point. Like we don't, like, to me it feels like by far the most compelling theory.
No one besides you and Sophia have said Zia is a Shabti, to be fair. No one in this book has said Zia is a Shabti. None of the
characters have said that.
Yeah, no one has thought it out loud. It is not even a consideration right now.
It's just something's off, and we've observed these parallels to these other Shabti, but like nobody has said that they are looking at those parallels. Yeah, I guess that makes sense then, that like we don't know what the implications are of the person in front of us, Zia, who is maybe not a real girl, coming to harm in some way. Yeah. Okay.
But again, what makes this my favorite chapter? We went from hilarious, campy villain monologue to terror, what is going on with Zia, Spy Kids 3 reveal, into now this gorgeous taste of what we have been seeking and learning about through Egyptian mythology in this book about balance and what balance actually feels like and what balance looks like and what we are like striving for and aiming for this entire time. Shall we read it quickly? Don't resist, Zia had told me. She didn't mean resisting Set. She meant Horus. The falcon god and I had been wrestling with each other for days as he tried to take control of my body, but neither of us could be in control. That was the answer. We had to act in unison, trust each other completely, or we were both dead. Yes, Horus thought. And he stopped pushing. I stopped resisting, letting our thoughts flow together. I understood his power, his memories, and his fears. I saw every host he had ever been over 1,000 lifetimes, and he saw my mind. Everything, even the stuff I wasn't proud of. It's hard to describe the feeling, and I knew from Horus's memory that this kind of union was very rare, like the one time when the coin doesn't land heads or tails, but stands on its edge, perfectly balanced. He did not control me. I did not use him for power. We acted as one. Our voices spoke in harmony. Now. And the magic bonds that held us shattered. Isn't that just chef's kiss? Like, dare I say, better than the Avatar state. I like this much more than the physical depictions of like entering into the Avatar state. I love the idea that they're working together. I just thought this was such a satisfying way to do this fight.
It's much more of an idea about, like, it's the weird inverse tinge of that idea in the sense that it's mostly about yielding. It's about Zia giving that final message about relinquishing, about not fighting. But I mean, it presents some complications to that in the sense that like it's like off of this baseline of trust. Like you're not just letting him take over, but that like, you know, it's a greater story about cooperation and about mutual understanding. And the description of this synergy is much more about vulnerability than what we've gotten in I think other similar ideas, that there's like an intimacy and a weakness and a sharing that's involved. I honestly, this does high key, I feel like this description is not that different from what we got in the only action movie that I've ever truly cared about, Pacific Rim 2013.
Yes! I've talked about Pacific Rim like 4 times this week. Keep going.
Don't you feel like it's the same? Like I mean, like if you were to like extend this into like a 5 to 10 minute long movie sequence, don't you think it would look like the first sync that white boy and Japanese girl have together? Where he's like, "Oh, Godzilla almost killed you." Okay, I understand. Like that's basically what the description is having us go through right now.
I need to rewatch Pacific Rim immediately.
Have you ever seen the next one? The one that I believe stars John Boyega? I've still never gotten around to it.
I don't think I got to see it either.
It's like much later.
Patreon.
Woo, maybe. I just found out recently that somebody else I really gag for as an actor is in it, but I cannot remember who it was. But that's maybe not important, because that brings us to the end of this episode. We're about to start the real fight next time.
I am Carter Kane, blood of the pharaohs, eye of Horus, and now Set, brother, uncle, traitor. I'm going to crush you like a gnat. This is what Carter's parents were afraid of. This is why Carter's parents didn't let them watch The Lion King as a child. It's time to turn on your uncle.
Yeah.
And with that, I guess we'll see you all next time.
Yeah.
Can't wait. Happy 201st episode, and we'll see you guys then.
Bye, all.
Bye.